in. So I'm sure there are a lot of questions nationally about can he sustain the success that Meyer had as a recruiter. What's been the key?
Well, I think our staff is killing it. I think they're doing a great job. But it goes back to, I think someone asked me before, what's the thing that you say about is competitiveness, just being ultra competitive and just trying to find ways to win the battles. And, that's got to carry over to the season, but so far it's working in the recruiting world. But our staff's doing a great job, but empowering those guys and understanding that it's everybody involved. So if a kid commits, it's not just the head coach or the coordinator or the position coach, it's everybody in that building understand that they have a piece of this thing and that go around and congratulate everybody. They're all involved with this. And I think, if you ask the families, of the kids who are involved in this right now, they would tell you the same thing, that they feel that there's this family environment going on and it's someplace that they feel comfortable sending their kid.
Hey, Ryan, you mentioned family a little bit there. Don't you have to have kind of a special wife to be a coach's wife? Because, like you said, you guys go all over the country, and this is not exactly the kindest profession.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people ask me, young coaches come up, they say, well, ask me about advice about being a coach. And the first thing I say is you better find the right wife. Because if you don't have the right wife in place, it's not going to go well. Because the sacrifices that have to be made are unbelievable. And moving your family across the country and, moving schools for your kids and all those type of things. And we decided every time we made a decision, it was together. And the idea was to move them around maybe when we were young, kind of move along in the NFL and a couple different things, coordinator job, and to have an opportunity to be in a situation like this. And we didn't know it would work, but here we are. And so when you sit back and think about it, sometimes you get a little emotional to say we got to this point, but we got a long road ahead of us. And the idea wasn't to just be a head coach, it was to be a head coach for a long time in a great place.
Commissioner Delaney was up there and he was taking questions about the college football playoff. And I know that you were an assistant on the team last year, and Ohio State was in a situation last year where a lot of people were confused by the end result of that. And I'm sure that since you guys worked all year to try to get there, you thought about it and were upset about it. I guess I'm asking you the first college football playoff question that you've gotten, but as a coach now, what did you think of the way things went in terms of understanding how it went down last year? And now that you're in the big chair, do you have a perspective of what might make it better, or what might, is it transparency to fans to understand why?
Right. I think that again, this is another subject that is complex, and there isn't an easy answer to. That I've learned, even going into some of the Big Ten meetings in the spring. I kind of went in a little bit, thinking like, well, let's just make sure every conference champ gets in. And there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to happen, and there's a lot of ripple effect to every decision that's made. That being said, I think it is very difficult for inequality within conferences. I think it does matter to have 8-game schedule with a 1AA and having a 9-game for a lot of reasons. Strength of schedule, opportunity to get beat by one of those teams. So I think when you're comparing the two of them, it's hard to swallow. And when you look at what we did last year and beating the team up north, who was number 1 defense in America, and I think they were 4th ranked in the country at that time, to do what we did and still not get in, that was really hard. And so it is frustrating. But I also understand that there's no easy solution in there. And again, being a first-time head coach, I really want to get through the first season and then really start to dive into these things in the offseason.
I know how highly you thought of Matthew and him to be a backup. But you thought maybe you'd have him to be your backup and then he would be a starter. And this recruiting quarterbacks has changed so much. You almost need to, be open and honest with somebody to say, we want you to be a backup permanently, so that you can have somebody for 4 or 5 years. Is that even into your mind?
Yeah, but I don't think I'd want anybody to be that way, though. I wouldn't want someone to come in to want to be a backup. I wouldn't want some of that in the program. I think you just got to be honest and do the best you can and build build an environment that they feel great in and that they want to be a part of. And sometimes it's more than just playing time, too. And I think Matthew would tell you that it was more than just playing time. There was a lot that play there, and there always is. And so we do the best we can and try to figure out who the best fit for us is. And but the quarterback is one that nobody felt it more than we did this past year. And so we'll keep trying to solve solve the issue there and try to bring in the best guys that we think fit who we are, and adapt when it doesn't work.
In a 2-year span, you went from coaching one room of quarterbacks in the NFL to a totally different room of quarterbacks in the NFL in a 2-year span. What did you learn from that experience that might pay dividends this year with the way you deal with these guys who weren't here a year ago?
Just that I think you can build those relationships in a short period of time if you have the right group of guys, and understand that it can't be a selfish group, that they have to be the strength of the team, and that as a unit they can be the best in the conference, and understand that they have to do that, because quarterbacks, they're pretty selfish just in terms of their innate way they are. And so I think if you can get those guys to drop that a little bit, understand that this is us together as a group. Doesn't matter, we can't go anywhere, guys. We're in this thing together. We got to pull for each other, and then if they support each other, it gives you the best chance.
But those are guys that were looking for a new start. I mean, a chance to be the guy. How hard is it, you think, to deal with that? I mean,
you just got to do the best you can to communicate and tell them where they are at all times. Again, when there's a breakdown of communication, that's when feelings get hurt, and so we got to be clear.
Part of this job, a big personal, is putting out fires.
Yeah.
So far, you've kind of avoided distraction, controversy. How much going through what happened last year helped you kind of, project how to handle something like that when it comes?
Yeah, well, I think that when you're dealing with so many people in such a high-profile situation, there's going to be things that come up. And having the ability to withstand the storm when it comes, because that is going to happen, like you said. There'll be fires along the way, and just trying to be as strong as you can and work through them, and trusting the guys that are around you, because they are going to come, and I understand that, and so, but that's kind of, I think when I think back on when Chip sent me that text about you were built for this, that's kind of been my life. I've gone through some of those type of things, and I'm being steady, because when adversity hits, you kind of find out where people are, and that's why you got to surround yourself with great staff and great coaches that you trust, that when things maybe don't go well, they're going to have your back in the end. So, but I think that's going to be a huge part of my tenure here.
It's not a huge distraction, but did you see what Jim Harbaugh said about the
I didn't. No.
Seemed to push tempo in the first 3 games last year a little more than you did the rest of the season. What's your ideal mix of that? How fast would you like the offense to go?
I think it depends on the game. I think that you don't just, unless you do it for a living, Scott kind of does that at Nebraska, where it's fast all the time. We're not that way. We use it as a tool when we need it, and then we'll slow it down when we think we need to as well. I think in certain games you can use it as a change-up. I thought in the Maryland game last year we used it really well, because we were kind of just, not really much of a rhythm, and then all of a sudden we got into that rhythm with the tempo. That got us good. Then there's other games where you want to go fast, you go 3 and out, the defense is struggling, you got to slow down a little bit. So I think the thing for us is having the ability to go fast when we want to, and when it makes sense for us, but then also having the ability, let's say you're up a couple scores in the third quarter, let's slow this thing down a little bit, let's shorten the game, let's get out of here.
And I'm going to preface this again by saying this might make no sense. You made hard decisions, as you said, with the staff, right? You made some hard decisions, maybe as a quarterback. Like, you've had to do some of those things. But you seem like a nice guy, right?
Right.
But, yeah. So, when you guys have a rough practice this year, or if you're not playing well in the game, to get on the team, to motivate them, to jump on them, to be the bad guy, to maybe, how are you going to handle that? You haven't been a full-time head coach before. Is that something that you wonder about yourself, or are there things in your career that we haven't seen where you have no doubt that, like, if I need to be the bad guy, I can be the bad guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of coaching, and, I think that there's a lot of coaches over the years that I grew up with who that was kind of the way they were every day. And I don't think that, in my opinion, my philosophy is the way you are on a day-to-day basis. Now, when it comes time, you have to pull that club out of the bag. You're going to need it. And I think if you asked the guys on offense and JT and Dwayne and those guys, they'd tell you that it can get a little rough at times. But that's part of the deal. And, you have to fail in order to improve. Now, if you've been told to do something and you just don't do it, now we have a problem. But, I want these guys to play free. I want them to play without anything in the back of their mind telling them, to have any anxiety. I mean, they got to go. That's what this game, it's a game. You've got to go and you got to play with confidence. Now, if something's wrong or something doesn't go right or they make a mistake, then, that's part of the game. Now, if guys are doing something that they've been told not to do and they're being defiant or something like, or they're being lazy, now we have an issue. If it's an effort issue, now there's going to be a closed door meeting. But mistakes are going to happen. As long as these guys are playing fast and play with a lot of energy and running around making plays, then I'm good.
Did you find that voice in preseason in the first 3 games last year, though, that head coaching voice like you're talking about? How hard was that to put back into the bag?
That was an interesting, very, very unique, because it wasn't anything to prepare for. It was like you were there, and then who do you be? Are you the head coach, or are you the guy that's holding place, or how? That was a daily grind, trying to figure out the right way to make that work. And then as time went on, you became the head coach, and you found that voice more and more every day. It became the norm, and how do you get respect from the guys? You're authentic, you're real, and then that's what they want to see. They just want to see somebody who's real with them, who's honest with them, and who's going to tell them the way it is, and be fair. And that's what I did, and I think to this day, the guys on the team will tell you that.
Ryan, Urban said, even before any of this stuff happened a year ago, that he had pegged you as the guy that he wanted to replace him, whenever that may be. He didn't know it would be this year. Did he ever communicate that to you? And when you hear that, what do you think?
Well, first off, it was an honor because, again, he's one of the best college football coaches ever put a whistle around his neck. And there were conversations. They were very general conversations, though, when I had opportunities to go other places. But there was no guarantees or anything like that. It was just general conversation. And like you said, no matter how you plan things, it's not going to work out that way. But here we are today, and it's because of him that I'm here.
Ryan, a lot of times when a new coaching staff comes in, there's a lot of transfers. For you guys, other than the quarterbacks, there have been very few other transfers. What do you think has been the key for you guys as a coaching staff to be able to really keep the team intact as well as that?
I think it goes back to our culture. I think our culture is very, very strong. And even in a coaching change, guys have stayed, stuck it through. Do I think it'll be like that forever? No, I think there's guys who want to go play and do those things, but we have something special here. This is a special place for a lot of reasons. There's so many things that we provide to these guys that are unlike any other place in the country. And that combined with our environment right now, and I think these guys love coming to work every day. They don't come out to practice and get screamed and yelled at every play. I mean, they're coached up. It's a positive environment, and I think they enjoy that. I think they enjoy coming to work every day. I also realize that they chose Ohio State for the right reasons.
What should we know about Justin Fields?
Yeah, I mean, where do I start? He's talented. He's a great kid. He's smart, and he's got a really high ceiling.
I had some high school coaches tell me that you're very down to earth and relatable. I just wonder what your reaction to that would be.
Well, I try not to take myself too seriously. I mean, it's, I try to relate the best I can, because at the end of the day, it comes down to, in college football, when you send your son to Ohio State, he's going to be taken care of. And that it's somebody that, in this generation, they need somebody that they can approach. I think over the day, when I went to my college football coach, when I was a freshman, I walked into his office, and it was one of those situations where I was scared to say something. It was a very different environment. I think nowadays with our kids in this generation and the youth that's coming up, they need somebody who's approachable. They need someone they can talk to, that they can sit on the couch. And we're redoing my office back at the facility, and in that facility there's going to be a fireplace and couches where the kids are in there, and they're kind of watching TV, and then on the other side of the office is my desk, and that's their office too. And that they feel like they can be in there and be approachable and that kind of thing. I think that's the way you got to recruit, because part of going back to the question about how do you keep guys in the program is you have to treat them the same way they're recruited. If you recruit somebody, then all of a sudden you change the way you treat them, there's going to be problems along the way. And so we talk to our staff all the time, treat these guys the same way that they're being recruited. Now, you can't text them every day like we do when we're recruiting them. That's not going to happen. The communication is gonna lessen, but the respect and the way we recruit those guys is going to be the same way we treat them.
That sounds exactly opposite, though, of what sometimes you hear. They're like, hey, you recruit, we love you, and then it's like, oh, you're on campus now. Now we're not being nice to you anymore. Isn't that how sometimes it's done?
Yeah, I told the newcomers this summer. I said, typically in the past, what would happen was the minute the parents drove off from the first day, there'd be little devil horns that stick out on the coaches' heads, say, "Now we got you." After all these text messages, but that I think that you can't do it that way. You have to make sure that that's the way it is, because nowadays with the transfer portal and all the rules, they'll just leave. And so I think it's forcing us to be better coaches.
Ryan, I asked Urban years ago about analytics, and he kind of dismissed it then. Is it something that you guys are looking at? Is it something that you are implementing now, and how does that work, if so?
I mean, we use analytics when we're breaking down a defense. We look at their tendencies and things like this. But a lot of times, a team's tendencies, we know what their tendencies are. So, like, let's say we know that we get tendencies on ourselves, for example, and on 3rd and 1 to 2, we've run the ball the last 8 of the last 9 times. Guess what? We're gonna throw the ball next time. So it's almost goes against what you're gonna be. And so a lot of teams do it that way. They'll play against their tendencies. So we try not to get too much involved with all that. In terms of other analytics in what they do on certain down and distances, we look at all those things, and we look at their coverages, and we look at all the different things they do on offense in terms of formation tendencies that way. In the world of going forward on 4th down, going forward on 3rd down, we looked at all those things, and I don't think field goals are as automatic as they are in the NFL either, and a little bit more high of a scoring game. So I'm not sure it comes into play as much, and a little bit more of a feel as the game goes on. Is it a high scoring game, low scoring game, weather, all the things that come into play?